Welcome to Floating Leaves Tea Podcast, John.
Thank you.
You might have noticed that I'm not showing.
I'm noticing right now. It's a surprise.
And do you know why that is?
I have no idea. Not yet.
It's because we're going to drink my own charcoal roasted teas.
Oh, that is great. All right.
And I want to do something kind of educational today.
Okay.
I have raw tea that hasn't been roasted, the exact same harvest and everything, and then the roasted one that tastes good. And I actually have the roasted one that didn't work from like months ago, back when I was practicing, if you want to taste that too.
Yeah, I do.
I think we'll actually start with the finished product.
Okay.
To give you an idea of like just... Because tea roasting is not to add a roasted flavor. It's to pull out the nature of the tea. It's like finishing the tea. Roasting sometimes seems like a bad word to use.
Yeah.
It's like curing or finishing. So I'm going to show you the finished product, at least what my understanding of how to finish it is, and then we can taste what it tasted like coming out of the tea factory.
Sweet.
Yeah?
That's a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah, I like what you said about roasting being misleading, because I feel like I've tasted some of your guys' teas before that are roasted, but it's not like a roasty taste.
Yeah, traditionally speaking, tea roasting is necessary for all oolong production. It wasn't until they had electricity to push out a lot more of the moisture before putting in vacuum sealed bags that it was even possible to have raw tea or like green oolong come to market. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to do this one. This one is actually red water oolong, hongshui oolong.
Okay.
Yeah, from Dongding.
This is the one this is your final product?
Yeah.
And is this the one that you brought to the Portland Tea Festival?
Yes.
Cool.
And well, it's actually a different crop. So the one that we brought to the Portland Tea Festival completely sold out.
I know, I heard that.
Which is great.
That's great. Although I didn't get any, so
yeah,
that's too bad.
That is too bad.
It's a win-lose.
But this one's also good. The thing is with charcoal fires, it's always different.
Nice.
So this one's a little bit different, but it's also good.
Yeah, I've been drinking, well, not this last round, but before this last round, I've been drinking the house oolong at work.
Oh, nice.
Which is nice. And I think the previous one you had roasted, but I can't remember. Have you guys done away with the clay kettle?
The electricity sound was too loud.
Yeah.
And then I fixed it by getting an alcohol burner, and then I left the alcohol burner in my roasting hut.
Oh, darn. All right. Yeah, it smells nice. Excited to drink some tea.
Yeah, me too. We haven't had very much today, actually.
I haven't either. I kind of had to get up and get out the door, so I just had a few cups and then I had to go. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen you since I got back, have I?
It's been quite a while.
Yeah. I was out there for almost 3 weeks.
Out where?
My roasting
Doing the
hut,
roasting?
yeah.
Ooh.
Hot.
It's hot. Wow. When did you roast this batch? How long ago?
This one I think was actually in the very, very end of June. Or maybe July 1st,
Okay.
somewhere around there.
So is this your most recent?
Yeah, I roasted one more time after this.
Oh, and you said this is a hong shui. Cool. Okay. Nice. It's got that hong shui smell to it.
Mm-hmm. And the color?
Yeah, the color too. It's got a nice sweetness in the smell.
Yeah, with this one, with a hong shui tea, you don't want to roast it until it's completely black because you want to feature the taste of the tea.
It's cool. It's got a nice taste, actually, just for the starters.
Yeah, I worked with this tea for a long time, and I kind of had a moment of being able to see the nature of the tea inside of the raw tea. Before I was just kind of like started. I'd watched my teacher do it, but there's not like it's like walking into a really unknown place and just keep failing until something kind of makes sense. And what I like about this one is not that it's perfect, but that the nature of the tea comes through the fire.
Yeah, I can feel that. It feels like very clear already.
Yeah, clear. Clear is what I'm looking for. Is that it's not like overburdened by the fire, or it's not still has some dusty stuff from, or some kind of random flavors from when it came out of the factory.
Yeah, and it lingers in the mouth for a nice long time.
And also, this one's a dongding tea, so it's got a lot of oomph.
Yeah. So it's a dongding base. Okay, it's a dongding base, and then
this garden
so it's
produces,
like the style of roasting is what turns it into like the hong shui style.
This garden produces regular dongding oolong during the rest of the year, like for the big harvest. But during the summer, they make red tea.
I see.
Red
I see.
oolong.
Okay.
Hong shui
I
oolong.
see. So it's from dongding, but it's a different.
Different way of processing it.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that was really nice. So with red tea, is that like what people call black tea? Like, is that kind of interchangeable?
Yeah, but this
Okay.
is a red water oolong.
Okay.
It's like a red oolong. It's like kind of like black tea.
Yeah.
They ferment it as much as black tea, but they use oolong processing techniques.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Blurring the lines.
Yes. But that's how it's able to pull out that kind of like that fruity sweetness and that kind of chocolatey flavor.
Yeah, totally. That's what it is, chocolate, yeah.
And the name that I gave this tea, because when you roast your own teas, you kind of have to name them.
Yeah, and you don't want
it's
to
not
call
just
it
like
the
dongding.
Noah special.
Yeah, Noah. I thought about calling it something like that. Like floating leaves special.
Floating Noah.
This one I called it Heartwood.
Heartwood?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Heartwood Hong Shui.
That's a nice name for it. It's feeling a little deeper this time.
And what's really fascinating about charcoal roasting, you can actually smell not just how much the tea has been cooked, that kind of roast, that kind of fire smell, you can actually smell the shape of the fire in the tea.
Cool.
Because the fire has a vibration, and the tea has a vibration, and you have to fit them together. That's like the goal is to get them so they're kind of interacting together in a nice way. When you smell the top of the broth, you may be able to notice the what the fire felt like on that day at that time.
That's cool. Yeah, it just feels like clear is the word that I'm still coming back to. It's like even the scent is feeling very clear. I don't know how else to describe it.
That's great. And it feels comfortable
It's going
in the body.
deeper, yeah. Yeah, this one is spreading really, really nicely. So are you just alone for those 3 weeks?
Actually,
Totally
with my
alone?
grandparents.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's nice. I'm sure they were happy to see you.
Happy and helpful.
Awesome.
Actually, my grandpa helped me modify my roasting pit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah, so doing this whole thing is like, not only is it, a new skill to learn, I'm also trying to figure out how to do something that's done in Taiwan and in southeastern China here.
Right.
So I have to find like what kind of materials and what kind of design I want to use and that kind of stuff. You can't just go to the tea roasting store and buy stuff.
Tea roasting store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I run into all kinds of issues because I thought if I just make a pit that I can fit my charcoal in, that's enough. But there's actually a lot of stuff. Yeah.
And you can't like get the same stuff that they have in Taiwan, right? Because you can't. Yeah. There's no like you can't ship it all out here. You've got to work with like the local.
Yeah. So I went and got 2 wine barrels, stainless steel wine barrels, and I went down to our local Ballard sheet metal shop and had them cut them, weld them together. I put insulation inside. Wow. And then I realized that with the design the way it was kind of like forcing too much heat upwards and kind of burning the outside of the tea.
Oh, wow.
So I had to modify the structure of the pit again with my grandpa by drilling holes in the side.
So you noticed that that it was burning the tea. Was that when you drank it after, or was it in the moment where you were able to see like, oh, this is burning it?
Well, there were times when I would just walk in and the roasting room was full of smoke.
Oh.
Yeah.
Don't some people smoke their tea?
Yeah. And actually, I think you can roast tea that way. Some of those really dark roasted teas, I think they've smoked.
Smoke
they've
out the
burned
room.
to the point of they roast to the point of smoking, but that's not what I'm going for.
Yeah.
2, even when it seemed like it was working, I would taste it, and there was kind of like an ashy taste.
Some people might be into that ashy taste.
If it's done well.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna hit this one so you can see the raw tea.
This is the raw one. I've always loved that guy one. It's very pretty.
Yeah, this was made locally.
Oh, that's right. That's great. You guys have had this for a really long time.
Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah. Yeah, I mean it reminds me of like a high mountain or something. And would that just be because those are processed less?
It's raw. Yeah, they call it mao cha in Chinese.
It smells nice. But way different, super different.
It kind of does actually smell. I was like, John, it doesn't smell like high mountain, but I can't see what you're talking about.
Can't you see what I'm talking?
Yeah, you're not crazy.
Let me try it again. Let me hit it one more time to make sure I'm not. It's got a little bit of that. I can see how it's kind
like
of
a green. There's a green taste in there.
Yeah, there's some kind of vegetalness about it.
There's other plants besides tea inside there.
Oh,
too.
fun! How does that come out? Do you have to get that out when you're putting
Just
it
pull
on?
it out, yeah. When it's in the roasting.
Yeah.
Roasting room. So, what I've learned through drinking tea with people in Taiwan and talking about like tea roasting and tea making and tea finishing is they talk about flavor much differently than we do. There's not just like an amalgamation of flavors, of fragrances, and that's just what it is. Like a tea maker has a job to do, so there's a different kind of separation of kinds of flavors, you might call it. But they say one is like a green stink, like a stinky green odor, like a green odor.
Okay.
Like the odor of, you ever, like, you have, when I was a kid, I used to put things in my mouth. And
Okay.
I would put dandelions. I'd put apart dandelions because dandelions look so yummy. And that white stuff that comes out of there is really bitter and gross. It's very green tasting. Oops. I usually don't talk.
Yeah, I know that. I know that. They're saying it tastes like if you were to eat a dandelion.
Well, just any raw plant has some. Some raw plants have more. And that one has a really obvious way of expressing itself. But High Mountain Oolong is made with the intention of being drunk right away a lot of the time. This one has some of that green stink, but more of it, and you'll taste it when you drink it.
Oh wow, yeah, it's dramatically different. I can actually completely tell what you're talking about just from the smell. It's like, it's very like grassy.
Yeah, exactly, grassy.
And, like
kind of like fresh grass clippings when you mow the lawn. And there's something.
It does have a lot of that. Yeah.
There's something kind of like almost grabby about it. Like when you smell it, it kind of makes your stomach feel a little bit like, I'm not sure if I should be, you know.
Don't say that before I'm drinking it. I see what you mean though, for sure. I see what you mean, and I also kind of can see a little bit like how you got already from this to the kind of the final product. Like I'm seeing maybe what you were hoping to like finish.
There's like base. It's like an ugly duckling, but there's like base in there.
Yeah, it's very like
it's all over the place.
Right, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's really dramatic, the difference between how that the final product was so like it felt so clear to me, and this one kind of feels like it's like, yeah, like it feels like a mowed lawn or a lawn in the process of being mowed, you know?
Yeah. And if you go back to some of the techniques you're working with Shoan on, when you smell the tea broth, do you notice that any kind of textures or does any sensation come up?
Even when I drink it, like it's not showing up the same in the mouth, and not really.
You don't notice
spreading.
this much at all. Yeah. What I noticed when I smell it, and what it took me quite a while of practicing to get to, was there's something that I like about this tea.
Yeah.
There's something honest about this tea. And it has a personality. It has something special about it. When you smell it, there's like a part of it that can go into the body, but because it's still kind of unkempt, there's also parts of it that stop. So you've had that experience with Shoan where there's teas that like they have a lot of fragrance, but those fragrances stop here.
Yeah.
And there's also teas that have more focus and the fragrance can go further into the body. This tea raw tea kind of has both.
Yeah.
It's like it stops, and there's some like, to me it's like the smell of a raw banana, that kind of like acridity of a raw banana, really raw green banana.
Yeah.
And it kind of stops itself from going further. But there's also something quite beautiful that can go further.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's like a kernel of what the final product is.
The
like you're
center of the tea.
Right. Cool.
So for me, the concept of what a roaster does, it took me a long time to understand. It's not like you are just adding one layer of flavor.
Right, you're not adding a charcoal taste to it.
No, and when people hear the word charcoal roasted tea, they think that it means charcoal. The tea is like charcoal.
Right.
The tea has been roasted to the point that it's like black, like charcoal. Because there are charcoal roasted teas that they do really dark like that.
Yeah.
The job of the roaster is really to find that kernel of beauty, and amplify it, and in the process, let it drop the baggage that it doesn't need anymore.
Yeah, I like that because it felt like there was stuff that was like almost distracting the. Woo! Wow,
it's really strong.
Really
there.
the green. That feels like the green stink that you're talking about. That smell particularly. Yeah.
So I'm not gonna drink that anymore. I've drank that many times.
I enjoyed that. Yeah, I don't think I've ever drank just like the raw tea before. So that was super
usually
interesting.
You wouldn't. I was talking to someone, another tea professional, and she goes and buys tea, but she doesn't buy raw tea. She buys finished tea. So even back when the tea was not working for me very well, it was still cooked, but it just wasn't like, I hadn't found the center of the tea, so it's kind of like lopsided. She said that I would, if I was at a tea table and I was choosing teas, I would choose that one over the raw one. That is to say that if you don't have the intention of roasting tea, then you wouldn't taste raw teas in the first place.
Right.
Or if you did, you'd be like, that's not very good.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely unfocused, but interesting. And I'm so used to obviously drinking the final product that it's quite different.
It's kind of fun.
It is fun, yeah. It's fun to just see like where it starts and where it ends, and just how much you can. Because I think even, for me as someone who's drank a lot of charcoal roasted teas from here, like without getting this chance to drink it an unprocessed tea, even I don't quite understand what a charcoal roast does. So that's why this is cool to kind of see how it shapes it. And now we're back to the final product.
Yeah.
Cool. Can I smell the top of the of that? Oh yeah.
Pretty fiery though, too.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
because it's a recent roast.
But it's just so different.
Yeah, it's very different.
so different.
Yeah, because it's a recent roast, a lot of the this is why it's important to leave the lid slightly askew, like we talked about before in tea brewing.
Yeah.
Is you can roast a tea to the point where it's working, like you've found how to set up the tea. But if it's very recent, there's still going to be off tastes in the form of fiery taste. And there's ways to let them leave the gaiwan, and there's ways to let them get stuck inside.
And you don't want that to be stuck on the inside.
You don't want it to be stuck on the inside, yeah, because it's a different form of off flavor. It's a form of off flavor that's very volatile. It'll go away. You don't have to worry about it too much.
And so you expect that this will continue to change the further you go out from the initial roast.
Yeah,
right?
like when you first taste tea right off the roaster, it doesn't taste like very much at all.
It's just kind of got that roasted.
Well, it's not even that it's got a roasted taste or not a roasted taste, because some teas you don't roast them to the point where they taste roasted at all. It's like it's become kind of empty on the fire.
Yeah.
And then it kind of slowly comes back in again.
Cool.
Yeah. Which is kind of nerve-wracking. The first time that it happens, it's like the first one that I did that I was like eventually liked it. I had a panic attack. I was like,
you worried you ruined it?
Yeah, I was like, this doesn't taste like anything anymore. And now compared to the one that we just tasted, the green one?
It's just like the shape is... It's giving me like a shape, you know, like a clear shape. And it's just like deeper in a way, or like warmer. And there's no green stink.
There's no green stink. And another thing is, it's a lot like brewing tea. You don't make a decision to change something and then it changes, right? You're not like, hey, I want it to be more puffy in the chest or something like that. The tea naturally has that. So I've been doing it for about 8 months now. I've roasted 5 or 6 times, and each time is about 10 days of just intensive practicing. At the beginning, I thought, I see this thing and I want to get rid of the bad flavors and enhance the good flavors, and that's, this is my job and I'm going to do it, It was very humbling to realize that that's not how it works. It's like, more than anything, like you get out of the way of the tea. Like my job is to make everything comfortable and then get out of the way so it can kind of evolve naturally on its own.
Cool. Do you feel like that's like, that mimics like the tea brewing process?
That's like, kind of what I'm saying is that with tea brewing, it's not like, oh, this doesn't taste good. Let me see if I can do this differently so that it tastes better in this aspect. Like you don't identify one thing that's wrong with it and then do something that, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean, yeah.
You offer space. Like your job is to offer space to the tea so that it can open up on its own. Yeah, cool. That was really nice. What I like about this one in particular, this tea, is that it's very grounding and comforting. It kind of feels like, have you ever seen those illustrations? It's like a tree, and you see a cross-section of the earth underneath the tree, and there's like a rabbit hole, or like a mole hole, and then they're like doing something inside. You can see their home. Yeah. It kind of feels like that to me. It's not like it's like a very earthy tea. It's not overly complex. Yeah. But it's very clean and comforting in that way. Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. It's cool. Nice. That's what I call the heartwood. Yeah, heartwood. Yeah. Heartwood. Yeah. I can feel your spirit in it. I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm sure I can, but yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. Do you have any questions about charcoal roasting?
I have millions of questions.
You can ask. I mean, I think that Shoan and I are gonna do another episode, but she'll have different questions or have different things to talk about.
Yeah.
So if you have questions, I can answer them, or if you don't, we can just cut it.
No, I at least want to know like how, like maybe I missed it and you already said it, but like how long does it take to roast one batch, and how much of your time is spent monitoring it during that roast? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I usually set a timer and I go back to it depending on what the fire feels like. If I'm not very certain, then I'll go back more often, like every 15 minutes.
Every 15 minutes.
But if it feels really good, then I'll wait 30 minutes, 45 minutes before I go check on it.
And how long is the process?
It depends on the tea. Like I've roasted this tea I've roasted it many times, and a couple of those times it felt like it was clean tasting, but the body of the tea hadn't been called out yet. This tea needs to have a very rich, full body because it doesn't have a lot of those very beautiful high notes like other teas do.
Yeah.
Because it's a dongding tea.
Right.
And that's why a lot of dongding is a fairly substantial roast, not necessarily has to be dark.
Yeah.
So I've taken it off too soon when I felt like it was clean, but it needed to go for an extra amount of time to let it become more rich.
And are we talking about like days?
No,
or
no,
like
no.
Hours?
So one tea is like in form of hours.
Okay.
You can roast teas for more than 24 hours, but most of the teas that I'm doing right now, and the way that I learned from my teacher, is to roast for a shorter amount of time and then wait and then put it back on the fire again.
Because if you go over, then you're probably screwed. But if you're under, you can keep keep adding.
There's
roast.
that, and there's also a tea will get tired if it's on the roaster for too long. A tea is like an elastic band, and if you keep stretching it and stretching it and stretching it and stretching it, it'll eventually wear out. It'll get too tired and it won't work anymore. But if you slowly start adding energy into it and then let it rest, then it can kind of come back into itself. And then you add a little bit more, and it can come back into itself. It ends up being a more relaxed tea. Otherwise, they can be kind of dry feeling.
Yeah. And so, like, how long does it take after? Because like you mentioned that right when you take it off the roaster, it immediately loses a lot of stuff. How long does it take for that to come back enough so that you can... Right.
So we've talked about bound up teas before.
Yeah, and I've experienced that before with you guys. So, like, how long does it take to, like, have it unbound enough that you can tell whether it needs more or whether it's good?
So that's my difficult job. That's what I'm practicing to be able to do, which is why I was, like, so afraid that one time when I took it off, that it felt right to me. But when I brewed it didn't taste like anything. If you're really clear when you're looking, there's an overall feeling of being focused, even though a lot of the kind of the meat is not showing. The bones are showing.
Cool.
Like the structure is showing.
Yeah.
So, like, you know how we smelled the tea, the cup, the fragrance cup? And I said that there's like the fragrance itself, but then there's also the tea energy, the chachi, that carries the fragrance. If you can see that clearly, it's not super immediately important that you know what the flavors taste like.
Okay.
But it's always I'm not like a tea god or something, so I'll take it back and it's like, okay, I need to check on this one later.
Yeah.
Make a note, This one worked out really well, and I can tell right now that it tastes good. Check, it is good. Put a star on it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just keep going back and tasting and which is really the job of a tea shop, right? Is to know what's happening with all of your teas. Then when you start adding firing into it, you have to know, did it work? Do you need to put it back on?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Or like, when can I share this with others so that it shows what it can be?
Yeah. Like, I was with my teacher, and he's like, oh, bring down that tea from blah, 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 blah. And he tasted it, and he said, oh, this is great. There was a weird flavor in there that I was waiting for it to go away, and now it's gone. Yeah, so
Nice.
it's just like it's a continual process of being aware and taking care of the teas carefully.
And you guys do, isn't it right that sometimes you guys hold teas that have just been roasted?
Yeah.
Just hold them and don't sell them or share them just because you want them to, like, you know, get a little bit of that, like, unbound.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Want them to be a little bit more unbound before people experience them, because if you don't have experience and you taste a tea like that, you're like, this just doesn't taste like anything.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not. It's not a good look.
Yeah,
You know?
that's true. Yeah.
We want people to be happy.
All right. Thank you. I still want to see what the setup looks like, because I've heard a lot of your descriptions of it, but I still can't quite imagine like what it looks like.
I'll show you pictures. We'll have pictures on our website too.
Okay, cool.
I made for the Portland Tea Festival, I made like what is it called? A sandwich board? Not a sandwich board.
Oh, like a science project
board, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I put all my pictures.
If this was for a science project, you would definitely get an A.
Not for my board though. I'm not very good at that kind of visual stuff.
Well, that's the content is what's more important, you know.
That's what my teachers always told me when they wanted me to stop crying.
I was never good at the science project, for sure. I see what you mean about the way it pushes up more than the raw one pushes up into the nostrils.
It doesn't have as much of that spreading out to the side and kind of clingy feeling.
Yeah. That's my hand gesture for the raw one.
It's like the whiskers.
Yeah, because like this would be too like nice, and this is I'm trying to describe it. It's
Yeah,
more like kind of like, yeah.
In Chinese, they use the word 杂, kind of like random and messy.
I think I could describe this one as more like that, because it does have a spread.
It's got a movement to it.
Yeah, but the movement is less like I was feeling when I was drinking the other one, like I had the image of, and probably planted minorly because you said it, but I was imagining like, you know, like an image of grass being mowed, and like, you know how all the like
just like
the blades are just flying all over the place. Yeah, that was kind of what I was feeling it.
There's hair going everywhere.
Less for me than for you on that one.
Yeah, and another way to answer your question of when do you know when it's ready, or how do you know if it worked? Another thing that we talked about in a previous session, when you go into have a communication with tea, because it's a plant, it can't speak in words, you can only rely on your experience. You can't rely on whatever meaning is going around in your head. So the tea's not going to say something like, I'm ready. You have to be able to listen to it carefully. But when you walk into the room with tea, it's like black. Your only light is here and here. And that was a really big realization for me in the roasting room. Is it's so new, you know, and my teacher is all the way across the ocean, and I'm using different materials. There's this feeling of like kind of being unbased, like unrooted.
Yeah. And
when I realized that I can rely on here, like there's a really solid foundation that I can rely on here, it was a big, I wouldn't say a relief, but it was like it gave me a direction. And brewing tea and drinking tea is the same. Yeah. It might be like, am I doing this right? Like I read a comment on the episode where you brewed tea, and this young woman said, when I brew tea for people, I feel really anxious that it's not going to work. Yeah. Just like John.
Yeah, exactly. And like how I was saying. Yeah.
I felt that too. This kind of anxiety that like, I hope this is correct.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And when you're dealing with mass quantities of tea, like there's extra pressure.
There's a lot of pressure. Yeah. Yeah. But if you can come back to here, even if it didn't work, if you can come back to here, you at least know what's happening. But if you have this thing going back in the back of your head, hey, this didn't work. Hey, this didn't work. You're really bad at brewing, or whatever it is. You know, this kind of like voice, this kind of meaning. You can rely on your nose, your mouth, your tongue, and your throat, and your body. You can rely on your body. I always use the word when I'm like writing to try to describe the kind of classes that we do, to describe the way that we drink tea is body based tea appreciation, not thinking about things, not thinking about, at least that's our goal, you know. It's not always perfect, but the goal is to come back. And that's what charcoal roasted tea first did for me, is when I tasted our teacher's charcoal dongding for the first time, Shoen said, "Can you feel it in your throat?"
Mm-hmm.
And that opened this concept to me of using your lived experience to communicate with tea. Not like, once you say this tastes like chocolate, what you're really doing is putting it in a little box, right?
Right, because it's not chocolate, it's tea.
It is, yeah, and it's much more than chocolate.
Right.
Although there's colors in there that mimic the colors of chocolate, right? That is to say that's our job, right? That's what I'm doing when I'm roasting tea. So when I feel like, okay, I don't know if this is ready or not, there's like that anxiety, but there's also this path for me to walk on of like, okay, I can always come back to my mouth, my nose, my throat, the rest of my body, and see what's happening.
Yeah, cool. It really is like such an amazing mirror of brewing tea.
It is. I mean, working with tea in any way is like that.
Yeah.
Because you're working with something that, you know, is a very different kind of organism. But it likes us. It seems to like us.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
But it's not afraid to punish you.
Yeah.
Like I found in the session where I brewed, where it was like, you know, it was like, I see you.
Yeah.
And then you show everyone what the tea sees, which is, and that moment, you know, wasn't necessarily what I wanted people to see. You know, you're kind of hoping to hide that, but you really can't.
You can't hide. Yeah, you can't hide from tea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, which is why it's kind of like when you forget, because sometimes you forget that you have a body. Sometimes I forget that I just have this mouth and nose and tongue to experience it, and I'm just thinking, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just solely thinking. I put it in my mouth, and I'm immediately, okay, this is good, blah, 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 or this is bad, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
You know, it goes on this track, because you start to tell yourself a story. So without that, it's quite nerve-wracking to offer something into the world, right? You're like, I hope this is good.
Yeah.
I hope that you like it.
Yeah.
I hope that it's right. But yeah, when you come back here, so it's like it's a really interesting kind of fulfilling kind of job to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's definitely, I feel that like that for me has been something I've been working on kind of ever since I brewed for you guys, was that like trying to shift my mindset away from like, I really hope this is good, like I really hope like this all goes well, and trying to just be more like, you know, here it is, let's see how it goes. You know, like let's see what I've managed to like do.
It's like you give the tea the space and the respect to do whatever it's going to do.
Yeah, right.
So I think we should just call it like that. I don't want to brew a poorly roasted one for you today.
All right.
I think we'll leave it like this.
Okay, I am curious about that though. I do want to drink one of those.
Cool. We'll do it another time.
All right.
I actually think that I left it in my grandparents' house now that I think
okay.
about it.
Well, that settles that.
It's in my grandma's basement.
Darn.
Yeah.
Your grandma might drink it all up.
I don't think so. We'll come back and we'll do other charcoal roasted teas again.
Cool. Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm glad that you like it.
Yeah.
See you next time.
See you next time. Bye.